This episode includes discussion of chronic illness, medical trauma, misdiagnosis, and physical disability. It touches on experiences of isolation, physical limitations, and the emotional toll of living with an invisible illness. These topics may be distressing or triggering for some listeners. Please take care while listening and prioritize your mental and emotional well-being.
For the haters, come on, do it now or later. Yeah. It don't matter what your name is, share your story. We'll be waiting. For the haters, whoa.
Welcome back to For the Haters. Today we're talking about resilience, chronic illness, and the power of embracing a new normal. Our guest was just 23 when she started experiencing mysterious symptoms that left her unable to walk. And after misdiagnoses and dismissal, she was eventually diagnosed with CIDP. What followed was years of treatment, setbacks, and isolation, but also incredible growth. Now, 11 years later, she's a mother, a wife, and living a life she once thought her body wouldn't be capable of. She's here to share her story, shed light on what it's like to live with an invisible illness, and offer hope to others navigating similar challenges. Let's get into it. Hello, Danielle, and welcome
Hi.
to For the Haters. I would love
Thank
if you
you.
could just start out by introducing yourself, giving us a little bit of background on your life before your symptoms started.
Yeah, so my name is Danielle, and I grew up in a small suburb outside of Boston called Newton, Massachusetts. And before I got sick, I was I was 22. I was working full time. I was probably partying more than I should have. I was just kind of living my life, you know? Um, and then I kind of just got, hit with a sack of bricks and my life got turned upside down in just a week, so.
As a retired party girl, I can resonate with the probably drinking and partying too much.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Fun was had.
Um, no regrets, but here we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are some of those first signs that started showing that something was wrong? And how did those symptoms kind of progress?
So I, at the time, was working at a senior living home and I was a waitress and receptionist. So I kind of noticed, I had gone to my doctor because I had some like pain in my feet. It was nothing
Hmm.
significant. And she said that I had plantar fasciitis, I think it's called. And then within the next couple days, I noticed when I was at work, if I went from my desk to the bathroom, I was kind of like stumbling around like I was drunk almost. And I was like,
Hmm.
that's a little bit weird. And then I had some numbness in my hands and feet. And my maternal grandmother actually had multiple sclerosis. So things were firing in my brain then, like, oh, I hope I don't have that. And then so I noticed when I would put my hands under hot water, they would instantly get numb. Same with like eating hot things, my tongue would go numb. So then I wasn't able to walk upstairs. So I noticed that my strength was kind of being affected, and my brother took me to my doctor. And he had to wheel me in a wheelchair. I wasn't even able to make it from the door to the office. And she had checked my reflexes, like what they do at the doctor when they like bang your knee and your elbow. And she noticed I didn't have any reflexes. And in my mind, I was just kind of thinking that's kind of weird because I can still, when you think reflexes, you're like, can I catch a ball? Like I didn't really
Hmm.
think anything of it. And then she said, with my numb tongue and the loss of reflexes, that she thought I had Guillain-Barré syndrome and it was really serious and I needed to go to the hospital immediately. And I didn't go by ambulance, but once I got in the car and actually looked up what it is, the Guillain-Barré syndrome, like I got very, very scared because it's very, very serious. Like people end up on ventilators, unable to breathe. You can have like lasting effects from it. And if you don't get the IVIG, the treatment, like very soon after you get it, your prognosis kind of isn't great. So I ended up going to the hospital soon after that.
It wasn't right then when you got any type of diagnosis that was correct, right? Like you went through,
No.
a bunch of different doctors and a bunch of different dismissals. What was that like?
So it was a blizzard that day. My birthday's in February, so there was a blizzard. So when I got to the hospital that my doctor was affiliated with, they said, we don't have IVIG here, so we need to move you by ambulance to a different hospital. So I went to one of the main hospitals in Boston, and there it's a teaching hospital. So whenever someone goes in, I guess it doesn't matter the severity of it. They have the students come look at you first. So I had a bunch of residents come look at me. They were running sharp things down my feet, causing me excruciating pain. I was trying to show them that like when I ran my hands underwater, my hands went numb. I couldn't walk well. And then I think I saw 3 students, and then the one of like the head doctors at this hospital came in and said, I think that you're really stressed, and I think this is kind of all in your head, and we're going to send you home. You're going to get some sleep, and you're going to get better, basically. And I kind of just looked at my mom and was like, I'm going to die if they send me home, because my body was just, even within a week, was just shutting down every single day. And, he said, before we send you home, I'm going to do a spinal tap just to make sure, I don't think it's anything, but if it is, it'll show up. And I don't really know how long it was. It was probably like 20 minutes after they did it that somebody else, this particular doctor that said that I was stressed, didn't even come in and tell me, but sent another doctor to tell me that I had Guillain-Barré syndrome. I tested positive, and I needed to stay in the hospital for 3 days and get this treatment. And I mean, nobody really explained anything to me. It was kind of just, I don't know if it's kind of me blocking it out or if it was just kind of like not really explained well to me. And I just stayed there. I got the treatment. I was throwing up profusely and still couldn't walk, and they just sent me on my way. And then it was 2 weeks after that I was completely paralyzed. I couldn't walk at all. My mom would have to turn me in bed. I had to sleep with her in bed. I was living at home at the time, thank God. And I had to be like lifted by firemen out to an ambulance. And there was another blizzard. And I ended up going back to the hospital and treated for, I think, about a week or so. And then I was in inpatient rehab for a month, which was a host of other issues because I still had this diagnosis of Guillain-Barré. So in their minds, they're thinking she should be getting better. She got this treatment. Like she's on the up and up. And every time I went to PT, it was like they were just making me sicker because they were just wearing my body out as I was, declining. So I tried my hardest. They told me, if you can climb 3 stairs, you can go home. And because I had like 2 flights of stairs to go up at the time at my apartment. And I just tried with all my might to like just pull my legs up these stairs, like just so I could get home, because I just couldn't take it anymore. And then it was another couple weeks after that where I kind of slid back down. I went to a totally different hospital, and that's the only time that they addressed that my maternal grandmother had MS and like a neurological condition. And that's when they were like, let's do MRIs, let's rule that out. I got a test called an EMG. It's like I can't even say it to be quite honest with you, but they like shock your nerves and test how well they're firing. And that's when I was diagnosed with the CIDP. And even after that, it was kind of just, I got treated with the IVIG, but it was kind of like, oh, you're going to go home and you'll see a neurologist. And it wasn't really explained to me just how serious it was or my prognosis until I saw the doctor that quite literally saved my life. His name was Dr. Gorson. He was recommended to me by a friend, and I went to him and he looked at me. I walked in there. I could barely walk with a cane. And he's like, I'm going to get you to walk again. And I started these treatments every 4 weeks, eventually went to 3 weeks. And, within that year, like I was walking again. He changed my whole life, basically.
And is he the one that recognized this, like you finally getting diagnosed with the CIDP?
So I was diagnosed in the hospital, but when I saw the neurologist that when you get discharged from a hospital, they like send you to a doctor. When I got
a
sent to
specialist
the
doctor.
Yeah, when they sent me to the doctor, they weren't doing the treatments every month. They were kind of just I don't know what they were going to do with me. But I wasn't getting the treatments that I was supposed to be getting with them. So I would have, if I hadn't have seen this doctor, I definitely would have slid back and been in the hospital again. And since seeing him
In that same
and being
routine
on
of
this,
things.
yeah, and since seeing him, like, I haven't been in the hospital again for this, so.
If you could, I know that we joked about this before we jumped on to record. I tried educating myself of how to pronounce what CIDP stands for. If you could just make the pronunciation so that those listening can know what that stands for.
So it is chronic demyelinating. No, wait, I messed it up too. Hang on. Chronic inflammatory demyelinating polyneuropathy.
Round of applause.
It's a mouthful.
It is. I like felt so bad. I was trying to memorize it in my mind, and I just said to myself, she's better equipped to announce that than I am. So
Yeah.
I'll let you go through it. So thank you for saving me the embarrassment of trying to say that. So now that you have this diagnosis, you go to this doctor that you say put you on the program that really just changed everything for you. What does rehab look like, and how does that impact your recovery? And I'm curious if the things that were done to you prior, do you think that they had any negative effect moving forward? Right? I'm assuming that it's considered a misdiagnosis of what you were kind of being treated for before.
Yeah. So the two are so the CIDP is actually the chronic form of Guillain-Barré.
Okay.
So it's hard to say if it would be, the prognosis is definitely different, but I don't know if they would classify it as a misdiagnosis or if it's something that like turns into it or something like that. Like with the GBS, the Guillain-Barré, you get the treatment for the 3 days like I got in the beginning, and then you do rehab and your body kind of recovers and finds its way again. Whereas the CIDP is classified for when you keep relapsing. So when you start relapsing, that's when they know it's the CIDP. I do know that in the span of, like, if you don't get the IVIG and you start relapsing, you do get like axon damage. So in those weeks that I wasn't getting it, like I have axon damage in my feet and my ankles. And it can be a lot worse than that. Like some people, I got infusions with this one gentleman. He was older. I think he was like in his 80s. And he had this for a long time. So when we had the anthrax crisis, do you remember that? Where like people were getting
Hmm.
nailed anthrax. So
Yeah.
IVIG is the remedy for anthrax. So the government was seizing all the IVIG, and this man wasn't able to get it, and he had to walk with two canes because he got axon damage like all the way up his legs. So
Wow.
it's like the longer you go without it and you're relapsing, the worse it can be permanently.
That's incredible that, right, like it's incredible to think of that there's a medicine that is so heavy relied on, right? Like what happens if it's taken away, right? The effect that the long-term effect it has on people, and just the importance of the correct awareness and diagnosis behind certain illnesses, because it is life or death for a lot of people.
Yeah, and it's
You've
very
been,
scary.
yeah, you've been on the I and is there does IVIG, I'm assuming IVIG stands for something, but is that important?
I think it's immunoglobulin.
Okay.
So it's basically like plasma. You know how you can spin down blood into plasma? Maybe you don't know that. Maybe your wife knows that because she's she's in the medical field. But
I can
so
assure you that my wife knows a lot more than I do when it comes to medicine.
yeah, so if you donate blood, like you're just giving the blood, but if you donate plasma, your blood is being
Mhm.
spun down. And it leaves like this small amount of plasma. And what IVIG is plasma from healthy donors. And I don't really
Mhm.
know like the mechanics of how it works inside your body, but it basically like tricks your immune system into not attacking itself. These healthy plasma cells like stop my body from attacking itself for some reason.
So you've been doing this IVIG treatment for 11 years now. What does the process look like for you? How does it affect your daily life, and has anything changed over those 11 years? Has there been any difference in that treatment?
So when I first started getting the treatments, I was at 4 weeks. So every 4 weeks, I would go to an infusion center, kind of post up there for like 6 hours and get my treatment. And then I dropped to 3 weeks just because that last week for me, I was like kind of feeling really tired and weak, and it just wasn't working for me. So he was like, let's do 3 weeks. And I think we can get rid of that feeling kind of crappy and you can just kind of be at baseline the whole time. And that's worked for me since then. Since being in the infusion center, I now do them at home, which is great for me because I'm like in the comfort of my home. I snuggle my dog, you know.
Yeah.
So I have a nurse that comes to my house and gives me my infusions. They're very long. They're like 6 hours long. Now that I'm a mother, I have to lock myself in my room for 6 hours, which is a mother's dream, really. And I get to like, watch all my shows and everything. But that whole week after getting them, like I have to kind of lay really low because I get really severe migraines from this. And they have gotten better over the years. When I first started getting them, it was like I'd have like weeks long migraines, like vomiting, all that. And now it's just like maybe 3 to 5 days after my treatment, I'll get this migraine for a day or two and kind of flu-like symptoms almost.
Mhm.
And then after that, I'm kind of just feeling my baseline self.
It feels like you've kind of just accepted that as like a part of your life, right? Like, because for me,
Yeah.
hearing that, it feels very like intense. Like having to deal with that
Yeah.
feels very intense. But the way that you kind of speak through it, or at least now how you're talking, it feels like you've just, that is my life. Like I don't have any other option, and I just know how to
Yeah.
navigate the choices I make.
I've noticed that, I'm kind of so far removed from like when I got my diagnosis. I'm like 12 years out
Mhm.
almost. And I find it really difficult. Like I moved twice in my adult life so far. So I moved to Virginia and now Georgia. And like as I make new friends, I feel like I'm kind of like a private person. I don't really like to tell people a lot, but I kind of have to disclose like, hey, like, this week I might not be like up for doing anything because I have to get these infusions and, they're kind of long, and I kind of go into it a little bit and they're like, what? Like, what? They're like,
Yeah.
it's jarring to hear. Like, what do you mean every 3 weeks you have to like sit there for 6 hours and I have a port and it like goes in my chest? What do you mean? Like, but it's just a part of my life, and it's normal to me now.
Can obviously it wasn't always normal. Is there
Yeah.
any feelings that you remember in the beginning about, feeling isolated, losing friends, what that looked like? I mean, you're in your young 20s. These are the
Yeah.
prime years of your life, and you're dealing with an illness rather than what other most 23-year-olds are going through. I'm just curious if there's any specific memories that come to mind about emotionally what it felt like during the time when you had.
Yeah. So it took about, I want to say like I got diagnosed at 23, probably until 26 for me to feel the way I feel today. So like
Mhm.
3 full years. And before I got sick, I was like going out all the time and I was partying and stuff, and I had a bunch of friends. But as you can't go out anymore, you kind of become a memory almost. And a lot of people didn't understand what I was going through. And I would kind of just sit in my room and watch these TV shows where I could just kind of live vicariously through people. And, you know, I kind of got to a point in my later 20s where I had to kind of realize that people aren't going to understand the way I feel and kind of what I go through, because they didn't really, I didn't let anyone visit me except for my best friend in the hospital. So nobody really like saw how bad it really was. I didn't take any pictures. It was kind of like shameful for me
Mhm.
almost.
Do you have any
And
regrets around that? Like, do you wish you
I
would have shared
do.
more?
I do, because even my husband now, like I met him when I was 26. So
Mhm.
right when I was kind of starting to feel good and like started going out again and getting myself out there. And one of my concerns always is, you know, if I get back to where I was, like if I, God forbid, relapse, it's like he doesn't know how bad it was. And it
Mhm.
takes immense patience to be someone's caretaker. My mom had to turn me in bed. I couldn't move. My brother had to help take me to the bathroom, and just not having those memories. I have like Facebook memories, like statuses and stuff like that, but that's not really going to show someone
Mhm.
how severe it really can be, you know.
Yeah. And what is that like, how do you find being able to manage still trying to live a life and, dealing with an illness and that transition of when you're starting to feel better and allowing yourself to start living a more fulfilling life, knowing, in the back of your mind, you are thinking about, could this be taken away again? That takes a lot of strength to allow yourself to kind of take those steps, which it seems like you did allow yourself. Was there anything that helped support you through that?
Yeah, so when I first got diagnosed, I was in a wheelchair and I didn't know if I was going to walk again.
Mhm.
And I I had this I just kept thinking like, if this is my life, that's okay. I'm going to find my way. It's going to be a new normal. It's going to be a new way to live. And I've kind of carried that with me, because living with a chronic illness, it's very like it's kind of negative to say, but you're kind of like at the mercy of your body, right? It's There's ebbs and flows. Some days I wake up and I feel great and I go for a walk, and I live in a hilly area and I'm like walking uphill with the stroller, and I'm like feeling like superwoman. And then I wake up the next day and I'm like, I could lay in bed all day. Like, I'm just so tired. So it's really just an ebb and flow. You have to let go of all control and just kind of take it as it comes. This past September, we got hit with the Hurricane Helene, and I've been on this 3-week infusion schedule for almost 12 years, and I had to go 5 weeks without it. And I didn't know if it was coming. And that was very scary because now I have a baby that I need to take care of every day, as a stay-at-home mom. And I do have some setbacks from that, but I kind of just keep my mindset of like, okay, this is my new normal. This is what we're doing. I keep people in my life that understand that, I have this and I get these treatments, and I have a very like close circle. And then, new people that I invite into my circle, I kind of just let them know up front, this is kind of what I deal with.
What's something that you wish that people understood, about invisible illnesses?
I would say I wish they understood how exhausting it is to kind of wear this mask around, where you're masking your fatigue, you're masking your pain, you're just putting on this brave face every single day, and it's just so exhausting, really, just to even do the simplest of tasks. In the chronic illness community, they have this term like spoonie. So like you wake up and you have 10 spoons, and every activity like brushing your teeth, taking a shower, making a meal, it's all like one spoon, one spoon, one spoon. But it's like when you've done all the 10 spoons, it's like you still have to keep going. So it's exhausting, really.
Obviously, there's a lot of frustration that can happen with people not understanding. What do you feel like has helped you the most with showing empathy towards people or towards understanding? It's so interesting because obviously I've been recording for this new season, and there's such a common thread between everyone's stories, and like even you speaking about accepting what is happening at that moment and being okay with that moving forward regardless of that outcome. And then even another common theme has been giving harsher answers to people, like not really like fluffing the reality of people's lives and giving harsh answers for people to understand. I'm just curious if you've seen any of that in your, like, how you deal with that frustration and how you deal with talking to people through these invisible illnesses or just like your illness in general.
So one of the most frustrating things for me, and it's really not even just me. I think it's just maybe any woman with a husband, but you
I
you'll be
can't
like
relate. I'm sorry.
you'll be like, oh man, my foot hurts so bad, and they'll be like, oh, me too. I've had this nagging pain in the bottom of my foot, and so I'll say things like that, like if I have really bad joint pain. Be
Mhm.
like, "Oh, man, like, I'm so sore today. I'm in a lot of pain. I'm not having a good day." And I'm like, "Oh, man, me too. Like this rain," and it's like, "Oh my
I'm like sitting
gosh."
here. I'm like, am I the husband? Noted.
But it's like, I think one thing that I really had to do is kind of just like tweak my thinking just to be like, you know, this is my reality, but a lot of people don't have it within them to put themselves in another person's shoes.
Mhm.
Not everyone's going to be able to walk in my shoes and know what I'm going through, and just empathize with that. And
Mhm.
it's like even people that like don't have chronic pain, all they can compare chronic pain to is like if you get a tweak in your back or something, they don't know what it's like. So it's like I can't really put that on someone else. I kind of just at first it really frustrated me because I'm like, why can't they just see? But as I've kind of gotten older, it's like, I just kind of roll my eyes at my husband, like, okay, like it's the rain, you have like
Yeah.
this pain. Yeah, I just think tweaking your thinking has really helped me with that.
Is there any other advice that you would give to someone, struggling with a chronic condition, whether it's like social or emotional, like the impact that comes along with it?
Yeah, I would say I put myself in a bubble for a long time.
Mhm.
When I lived in Massachusetts, I had like disabled housing. It was income based because I wasn't able to work a lot. And I got like secondary health insurance that helped with all my medical costs and stuff. So I put myself in this bubble and I was like, I cannot leave this situation because I don't know, I could wake up tomorrow and be sick again and not be able to pay my rent and this and that. And I just kept being like, I need to be stuck here. I had like super small apartment, it was great for the time being, but I wouldn't have been able to like have a family there and stuff like that. And when my husband said, I got this job opportunity in Virginia, my mind was just, oh, I can't lose this. I can't lose this. I need my bubble,
Mhm.
And it wasn't until I moved to Virginia and realized that like I'm okay. I get my treatment still. I have this bigger apartment. Like it broadened my whole perspective. I was out of my bubble. And then since then, it's like I never have to be contained. You
Mhm.
know, the possibilities are endless. And I think also not just knowing that you are a different entity than your illness. I feel like a lot of people kind of take on their illness as their personality or like I am this. Like
Mhm.
I have this instead of it being a part of your story, it becomes your whole life. And I think it's important to kind of compartmentalize and realize that you are more than your illness and you have so many possibilities in front of you.
Mhm. I'm curious if, and the answer might just be no, but were there ever conversations with your mom, with your brother about the weight that came from just being a caretaker, right? Like of what they went through and what they had to go through. Being able to help and support you during the times when you were 23 and needed more help during, when you didn't know what your illness was.
Yeah, my mom in particular, she worked, I don't know if it was 2 jobs or 3 jobs at that time,
Mhm.
and we've had conversations where, she was very scared. She didn't know if she was gonna lose me, if I was gonna be okay. She had seen her mom have MS and she was in a wheelchair and she struggled really bad with depression and
Mhm.
she didn't know if that was gonna be, my prognosis. And just having the weight of those 2 to 3 jobs and then having to turn me in bed and, she had to make sure that I was taken care of also when she was at work. So she would have to like call my brother and call my stepsister. And sometimes they wouldn't be able to help. And she was kind of just like, what do I do?
Mhm.
And that weighed very heavily on her. And even to this day, like, she's a mom. She's always going to worry about me and she still worries about me. But I think now that I'm in Georgia, like near my best friend, she doesn't worry as much because she
Mhm.
knows like I have someone that's my best friend was actually the only person that came to visit me in the hospital. So like she knows how bad it is and she would do anything for me. So my mom knows that, you know, I'm going to be okay, you
Mhm.
know.
Do you feel like that you have a closer bond with your brother? And I think you mentioned your stepsister as well. Do you think that, like, are you still close with him and her?
So I'm not super close with my stepsister. She actually wasn't living at the house when I got sick. She
Mhm.
went to college. I think she graduated at that time, and she was living kind of far at the time. And we kind of keep in touch here and there. Me and my brother are very close, but since moving, it's been kind of hard to keep in touch with him. And he's so busy. He has, a lot of kids and working all the time. And so we try to keep in touch and FaceTime, but it's hard with, schedules and stuff. Yeah.
Becoming a mom was a huge milestone for you, right? Like there's these moments and milestones and things in life that you really never thought that you would be able to have when you were first going through this chronic illness. And now you're a mother. I'm curious how it's affected. Did it affect your pregnancy at all or your early motherhood at all?
So I remember, I think I was maybe 28. I had asked my doctor at the time. I wasn't really sure if I wanted to have kids, but I was like, if I wanted to, would I
Mhm.
be able to? And he was basically like, you would. The muscles of the uterus are like not the muscles affected by my illness. But he kept saying, there's not a lot of data. There's not a lot of data. So when I became pregnant, it was unplanned. I love my
Mhm.
daughter to death, but unplanned. And I was
Mhm.
terrified because, the no data, no data, just
Mhm.
kept ringing in my head. And so I, made an appointment with my neurologist at the time, and she was like, this is totally okay. Like, you can still get your treatments. It's not going to affect the pregnancy. And that was great news to me because you never know
Yeah.
with medication, so that made me feel a lot more at ease. Towards the end of the pregnancy, I didn't gain a ton of weight because I had another condition that's not related to my illness. It's
Mhm.
hyperemesis something. It's where you just throw up all the time. So I was pretty ill from that. When I gained those 16 pounds at the end, I needed to up my dose of IVIG a little bit, just because I was starting to feel the effects of it. But I mean, I had a normal delivery, everything like that. And after I gave birth, it was a little bit hard on my body. But I mean, other than that, it was great.
Which thankfully, right? Like you just
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
you're not knowing how things could have
I kind
changed.
and also when I was induced because I had to plan it around my infusions,
Mm.
and the nurse was very, very pushy with me. I wanted to go natural because the epidural goes in your spine and can affect, nerves and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
of course.
And she was, talking to my husband on the side, like, she needs this epidural, she needs this epidural. And I was kind of going through contractions, but I could kind of see what was going on. And the anesthesiologist comes in and I was like, is this going to make my CIDP worse? And he was like, oh, it can. Yeah. And I was like, um, okay. So now I'm sitting here and I'm about to have a baby. And, I felt pressured to get the epidural. I don't know if I'm going to be relapsing or whatever.
Mhm.
And it ended up being okay. When you get home from the hospital, you have this postpartum buffet, if you will, of things to make you feel better, right? So I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna try this numbing spray or whatever." And then I get in the shower and my tongue goes numb. So I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm relapsing. Like I have to go to the hospital." And I was like, I took a sip of water and I was like, maybe I just had my mouth open,
Yeah,
It was the spray. It wasn't
but
it
that must
wasn't
have
a
been
relapse. But I
terrifying.
mean, yeah, it was because he was like, "Oh, it might affect your CIDP." And, but I mean, other than that little epidural escapade, I mean, everything was normal with that.
And it must be hard for, your husband to understand the extent of your worries because he wasn't there to witness the worst parts of it, right? Like the worst parts
Yeah.
of your illness. And
Yeah.
so again, it's just like another hurdle that you have to take of people like taking you to full length seriousness because it's hard for people to understand something they didn't see. And I imagine if your husband knew you during those times, he would have he also would have been like, absolutely not, like, do not even come like near her.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really because, he only gets a certain amount of time off work.
Hmm.
We were in Virginia at the time by ourselves. So, I was just thinking if anything happens to me, like who's going to take care of our child,
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Are there any current challenges that like, being a mom and managing your like the illness?
yeah. So dealing with a toddler, chasing after a toddler is hard for anyone, but
Hmm.
I would say I wake up almost every morning and I'm like, oh man, like I don't feel good. Like, how am I going to get through this day? And then the day goes by and I'm like, wow, like I did that.
Hmm.
It's like this huge sense of accomplishment. But, the not getting sleep was really hard for me when she was, a newborn
Hmm.
because dealing with like fatigue, I really need that rest, even for like my muscles to recover. So that was really hard. Um, and now it's like, I have to get out every day with her because she doesn't want to be cooped up in the house. And, I need to get out there more, find things to do, make her meals, make sure I'm eating. It's before I had kids, it was like I was able to get that rest. Like
Hmm.
if I worked 2 days, I worked part-time. So I worked two really long shifts. Like I would be like kind of down and out for like 3 days. And now it's like, I don't have that. Like when she's up, I'm up, ready to go, So I think not having that restoration for my body has been really hard,
Hmm.
but it's very rewarding at the same time.
Do you think that, having your daughter has changed the way that you view like your strength and your own resilience as well?
Absolutely. I mean, I didn't think that I could, do what I'm doing now, even a
Hmm.
couple years ago. She's kind of opened my eyes. And even on days where, you think you're just not doing good enough and you're not the mom you want to be and you're not doing a good job, she'll just surprise you with something new that she learned from you, or like
Hmm.
mirroring you in certain ways. And it just it just kind of reiterates that, you are enough and, you know, you're doing your job basically.
Yeah. I'm curious, throughout like the entirety of this, did you lean on any kind of professional help from a mental health perspective? Like, did you go to therapy? I'm just curious how you've like done so well at maintaining such, I don't want to say a positive because everything's not always positive, right? But you do have the ability to take what you're going through and kind of build and work through that. I'm curious if there's any tools that kind of helped you.
So I would say, so I haven't really done a ton of therapy just
Mhm.
because I've gone through a lot of trauma in my life and they tend to not focus on present things, more on like traumatic things and working through that. And when I talk about those things, it puts me kind of in a bad place. So
Mhm.
I've never had a great experience with talking to a therapist. Me and my husband have gone to couples therapy, which I found helpful because they focus on like present
Your relationship
issues and
and
like
yeah.
coping things, and I found that helpful. But I have found when I first got diagnosed, social media wasn't as big.
Mhm.
I think that I went on a Facebook support group and I met a couple people that have one of them has CIDP and I talk to her often, and the other one was misdiagnosed. So she thought she had CIDP and she has something completely different, but we still keep in touch.
Mhm.
I think that finding those support groups and like people you can talk to that know what you're going through, and like the different social media platforms that have, you know, chronically ill people that, give you tools and stuff like that. That's been helpful. I think it can kind of be a double-edged sword almost with social media. Like I could never imagine being diagnosed right now and going on social media and seeing, you know, all these chronically ill people that are able to do certain things and like you're not, and like how that might affect your mental health. I think it's
Mhm.
important to kind of keep your algorithm in a spot where it's going to keep you like positive and feeling good about yourself.
Yeah.
I think the wellness space too, it's like, oh, if you're chronically ill, like you just need this supplement,
Yeah.
and
It's
for
like
you
a
to
quick fix to
influence.
everything.
Yeah, so I think that can be kind of a hurdle in today's world as well.
Hmm. Yeah, not relative, but you just speaking about support groups and when my dad got sick, I joined a support group for primary progressive aphasia, and it probably was the worst decision that I could have made, just
Yeah, it can
because
be.
I guess people aren't looking for help; they're just looking for people that understand. So it was just a window into what my life was going to look like for the next foreseeable future while he was alive. So it wasn't like tips and tricks to help. It just made me think of like when I joined that group
Yeah.
and I was like, oh my God,
Yeah,
like,
kind of piggybacking off that, like after I met these two people, like I didn't really go back to that specific support group because it was it's a very heavy space to
yeah,
be in.
yeah.
It's a lot of people, like I said previously, a lot of people that are kind of it's their whole identity,
Hmm.
like I have this and I don't feel good, and it was just a very heavy place to be, and I just, you know, I'm so grateful for who I met, but I'm sure there are like different support groups and stuff like that, but
Absolutely. Yeah.
it's hard to find one where,
Yeah.
it's like people are helping each other and not just venting.
100%. I think, and that's important for people to know as they navigate, right? Both are
Yeah,
available. So just
right.
be mindful during that process of trying to find that support. What do you think this journey has taught you the most about yourself?
I think just how resilient I can be, and um the ability to adapt. I
Mhm.
feel like I'm a very adaptable person, and I kind of have to be, just because I don't really know what the future is going to hold, or as I get older, and just the natural things that happen as you age, you lose muscle, like is that going to affect me? I just have to be adaptable in situations, and that's helped me in other areas of my life too, just with, moving to different states
Mhm.
and becoming a mom. It's like you really have to just relinquish all control and go with the flow.
Mhm. And what, for those that are listening to this episode, what do you hope that someone would take away the most from hearing your story?
I hope that if they were in the thick of it, just to know that, you are so much more than your illness. You're going to find people that will support you and love you. You're going to do great things, and it does really get better.
Mhm. And what's next for you, right? How do you continue to adapt, like you said, and move forward?
So I just recently moved to the area I'm in now. So I think, getting more settled, making more roots, but I really want to get back to like who Danielle is.
Mhm.
As a mom, you kind of like lose yourself a little bit. I just want to get back to like what makes me happy, what I want to do. Just find what makes me me, I guess.
Yeah. I think that's a great next step for you.
Yeah.
Um, I like to ask one more question. Our time is coming to an end, but before I do ask that question, if someone's listening and want to reach you, if you're comfortable, how can someone find you, whether it's your email, maybe a social handle, whatever you're most comfortable with?
So I have an Instagram. It's quirks_McGurks. We can write that somewhere.
We will.
And if they wanted to email me, D_Marie, Marie 45 at yahoo.com.
Awesome. And then my last question before I give my outro is, if you could tell your younger self anything, what would it be?
Just spread your wings and fly.
That song started playing in my head. I love it. All right. Well, Danielle, thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. Your journey is such a powerful reminder that chronic illness doesn't define a person. It's about how you adapt, push forward, and find joy in the life you create. Your honesty and strength will undoubtedly help others feel less alone in their own struggles. To anyone listening who is dealing with a chronic illness or any life-altering challenge, know that you are not alone and there's hope in finding your own new normal. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on For the Haters. Thanks for listening to For the Haters. Don't forget to connect with us on socials, follow, like, and share to help more people find this community. And remember, they're not alone. And if you haven't yet, join our Facebook group. We'd love to have you there. The more we grow, the more lives we can impact.
What's your name and share your story? We'll be waiting.